everyone, welcome once again to Arrow Discussions. I am Captain Logan.
And I am not Eric.
Nope, you are Steve.
I am.
This is Steve. I guess I have to remind him that he's Steve. Anyway, Eric's not here with us once again this week. Steve is filling in, and once again, Steve may be filling in for the foreseeable future. Still not sure if Eric's going to be able to join us anytime soon. Hopefully, he'll be back soon. I'm hoping that happens, but his situation's making it difficult for him to be with us right now. Technical difficulties and such. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's show. Before we talk about Cupid, we're going to return to last week's episode and talk about a few comments and questions from our audience. And last week's episode was guilty, with a little bit of Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke sprinkled in there. And we're going to start with Stickman618. I found an interesting parallel between the Green Arrow comics and Arrow. Back in 41, when Oliver was first created, he was basically an archery-themed palette swap for Batman. He had he had a kid sidekick, an arrow cave, and an arrow car. However, and he had an aeroplane, Steve. An aeroplane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten the show yet. The aeroplane would be fantastic.
However, eventually he did evolve into his own unique character. Similarly, the show Arrow started off as a copy of the Dark Knight trilogy, but over its 3 seasons has slowly evolved to take its own identity through character and plot evolution. Yeah, that's a good comment. I like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's also funny that we got like 3 seasons of this, and like there's 3 big paradigms of Green Arrow and his evolution, like the Batman ripoff, the kind of liberal crusader thing, and then just like the modern Errol Flynn liberal crusader kind of thing.
Yeah, although I would say that we haven't seen all of that form yet, really. I mean, because
I mean, like in the comics, that's how it would go. But in the show, like we went through like 3 different versions of that character.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I would say that this year he is kind of like a weird mixing in the middle between the first 2 seasons, where like, you know, second season he just has embraced, okay, I'm a total hero now. I'm not killing people, and now as you keep complaining about, he seems to have almost gone too far in the I won't kill people direction. And then this season he's almost brooding about having to be a hero, which is kind of interesting. Eric has talked about hoping that we can eventually get to the more lighthearted liberal crusader version, and I kind of wonder if that ever happens.
Yeah, it's interesting because in this episode we'll get to it, but like there's a little bit of Ollie losing himself just slightly. I'm not sure if they're just playing that up for this episode or if they'll go further with that.
Yeah, who knows? We'll just have to see. Looking. Michael Baranashina, did you guys catch the Batman Bane reference? There's a mention of Santa Prisca. I did notice that. That was in the previous episode, and we only talked about that briefly, so I didn't get to comic references for that one, but I want to say that's where it was. But yes, I noticed Santa Prisca, which was amusing because I want to say that the previous episode, Eric had confused Cordell Maltese with Santa Prisca, and then was like, oh wait, I meant, not that's not where Bane is from. And then the very next episode, Santa Prisca gets brought up. Eric keeps doing that because he did that with Constantine too, where like he mentions that rock band, and then the very next episode, the rock band comes up. Yeah. Jedi Trekkie 101, I don't see the problem with the Thea stuff. I think Oliver did convince her to come back to Starling, and whatever plan she and Malcolm have doesn't depend on where they live. What do you think about that? I just think it's confusing. Like I feel like they're trying to keep something from us on that, and I'm not convinced yet that it makes any sense to play it up as the mystery that they're playing it up as. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's weird because it feels like they have an idea and they set it up counter to what it is, so it's just for the audience. Now they're like retroactively fixing it. So even if their plan doesn't depend on where they live, or even if they're conniving, just the way they set it up doesn't seem to follow with that. Like all of the scenes where Thea and Malcolm are alone don't play as if they've got a plan together, and now they act like they've got a plan together.
Yeah, exactly. It really seems like just kind of gimmicky TV drama to make us think a thing in the episode, and then now all of a sudden we're supposed to just be like, oh wow, they have this whole plan. Because if they play it up like they had that plan the whole time, I'm not sure I'm gonna really buy it. Renwick Davis, Diggle really needs to wear a mask. Even Stephen Amell wants Diggle to wear a mask. What makes it worse is that he arbitrarily wears a ski mask from time to time. Yeah! And somebody in the comments somewhere here even said, hey, he wore a ski mask in here, but I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't wear it all the time, and he often will go into a situation, and I know we keep ranting about this, but in Cupid, he does it again, and it's the worst it's been all season. Because he walks with Arrow, with the Arrow, I guess we're calling him now, into Cupid's hideout, and they go through that door and they expect someone to maybe be there, and he's not wearing anything to conceal his face.
Yeah, it's weird. And I mean, my issue is even more so, like, every time Oliver gets a new person on their crusade that's supposed to be a field agent, they get a costume. And Diggle's the only one that does it just because he's not a comic book character, and that feels really weird. Like, why would he give Roy a costume before he gave Diggle one? Just, like, what's his logic for that?
I don't know. Comics Kid 2099, having not seen the most recent episode, I'm with Cap on Cupid, 3 seconds of her and I wanted to cut my ears off. That's how I felt.
24 minutes of her and I really like her.
Oh boy, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. Okay, moving right along. John Sidney, I'm starting to not care that much for this season. These writers' biggest mistake was killing off Sarah. Captain Logan, you said in your Blade Trinity review that one of the writers' biggest mistakes was killing off Whistler before Blade had already dealt with killing Whistler. I'm sorry, because Blade had already dealt with killing Whistler. That was like a double beat kind of thing. I think this show is doing the same thing with Sarah. Everything that the show is trying to do that was a result of Sarah dying is bad. I don't know that it's exactly the same thing, but I can see where you're coming from. In fact, it's terrible. I've never disliked Laurel in the first 2 seasons, but her not telling her father that Sarah died and trying to be a vigilante because she died makes her unsympathetic to me. And here's the thing with that. It is, and we'll talk about this briefly because, of course, Laurel doesn't show up in this episode, so we don't even have to deal with her today. But the way they're playing it, of course, is they're trying to give us a good excuse to keep drawing out the drama of him not knowing, to just keep creating these kind of, I think, mostly sort of typical scenes of he doesn't know, and Sarah is almost every time Laurel is in a room with him brought up so that we can go, oh man, what's going to happen when the shoe drops, you know? And it's supposed to just be, and they're just using this kind of plot point of he might have a heart attack as an excuse for it. So I think they could play it more where I would actually sympathize more with Laurel. But there is this part of me that can't help but think that she would maybe be doing the exact same thing even if the heart problem wasn't an issue. That's a thing they haven't convinced me of.
Yeah, that's fair. And I wonder when Oliver's going to know that she didn't tell Lance. Because every time he talks with him, he doesn't even, like, stop and think of, like, well, hang on a sec, how come Lance is not broken up or different or anything at all? Does he know his daughter's dead?
Yeah.
So that's been weird, and I kind of see that comment that he was making about like the double beat thing with Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
Because we kill Sarah a lot in this show, and there was a big thing for the first half of season 1 where every one of the main cast had to deal with the fact that Oliver may as well have killed Sarah, and then she comes back, and then the whole season they're like, well, we lost our daughter, but now she's back. And now she's dead again, and they're going to do that thing all over again.
Yeah, that's true. There is a difference, and the difference is. And I mean, I'm with you. There's a part of me that wishes we didn't have to deal with that, but it could work. It could be interesting when you have that kind of tragedy, because like her death was the thing that really kind of spiraled him out of control, and obviously we've been paralleling Laurel with that, where we've had her kind of go down the same path her dad did, right? And so Sarah supposedly dies, and Lance screws up his entire life, and then finds out, oh, she's back. She actually wasn't dead. Well, that sucks. I didn't have to mess up my whole life over this, you know? And then, of course, yeah, he didn't have to mess up his whole life anyway, but it happened, and, you know, thank God she's alive. Now he can pull himself back together again. What would happen if she really did die for real? The question is, would he learn from his past mistakes, or would and manage to find a way to keep it together, or because of all the tragedy and supposed tragedy he's had in his life, would he handle it the exact same way? what's different between doing and the only problem for me right now is just that we're not exploring those things. We could explore that.
Yeah.
So dealing with, I don't think it's the same thing. The more I'm thinking about it, dealing with her actually dying when she didn't die in the first place is different from Whistler died and then he came back and then he dies again, because when he dies again in Blade Trinity, I don't feel that much for all that. You know, I mean, the problem with that was more bringing him back in the first place than it was killing him off, I think. But that's having not seen the Blade movies in a long time. I almost need to go back to 4 years ago, Captain Logan, and see what exactly he was talking about. But if memory serves, it seems like kind of the issue there was just like we're not exploring somebody dying twice and being really dead this time in the same way. This wouldn't work as well if it was a resurrection, and with Whistler it was. With this, she wasn't actually dead the first time. It's kind of different.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's more of like what you said near the tail end of that, of we're not actually exploring a lot of that yet. And,
precisely.
I mean, it would be great, like, because at this point, he found out that Sarah was alive, and his career is better than it's ever been. And he's safer than he's ever been, and everyone's kind of happy for him. So, clearly, the moment he finds out that Sarah's dead, there's got to be some kind of dramatic character arc moment for him, but we haven't gotten there yet, and it feels kind of cheap that it isn't there.
Yeah, and for me, it's more about Lance than it is about Oliver, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? Joshua Perez, maybe Arrow just really likes the Odyssey. My brother can quote the Rush Hour movies, but has problems remembering the name of people from the Punic Wars. That's a good point.
Fair enough, yeah.
EC Cons arguing with me about the Roy not actually killing Sarah reveal, because I really liked it. Here's what he says. The second they did the Roy killed Sarah reveal, I knew it would be stupid no matter what happened. If he did kill Sarah, then her death would have been pointless. True. And even though which is why I shouldn't have bought it, and I feel like I fell for something. Even though what really happened was that a memory of him killing a police officer got rewritten, it still doesn't work because it only took one episode to reveal that it wasn't true. What was the point of that? A red herring is one thing, but if you reveal that it isn't true after only one episode, what you're giving misdirection, you're just wasting the audience's time. The only advancement to the story that Guilty provided was developing Wildcat, who in my opinion isn't very interesting and just opens up plot holes. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I guess I mostly agree with that. Mostly a lot with the Wildcat and definitely with the Roy, because I think one of our biggest criticisms with the Roy stuff is that it's a really interesting place to take it. They just didn't spend any time with the interesting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I sort of like not being dragged along too long thinking that he actually killed her. On the other hand, could we not have explored what it would have meant if he had done it and it not still feel too cheap once we found out that it really hadn't? Like, what if we played it all out? What if we played all of that out and somehow didn't know it? But the problem is, I don't know how you could have possibly done that without Oliver just not putting two and two together, because he very quickly, as we talked about last week, was like, I know what happened, or I think I probably know what happened because the way the cop died was in a really similar kind of way. So you would have had to rewrite it. I mean, it couldn't have been the cop death thing. It almost would have had to have been something else, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind so much that Roy killing Sarah just on its surface doesn't really work, or whether there's plot holes with that or not. The fact is that Roy killing Sarah brings up a lot of interesting character and ethical issues that everyone responds to. We just don't get to see them explore. Like, we talked about, like, Laurel, and how if Roy did kill Sarah, it completely destroys her worldview. But then we'd never see her deal with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whether or not it was the cop thing, whether or not Roy actually killed her, whether or not it was a red herring, I don't ultimately care about that as much as you brought it in and it's a giant missed opportunity.
Yeah, just to explore the it's actually like you said, it's an opportunity. It's actually a cool contrivance for dealing with the idea of whether or not a person is responsible for killing a person when they had no knowledge of it and didn't have control of their faculties. And we'll get to that stuff in Cupid. I like that Roy still feels bad about it, but I still feel like even knowing that he didn't kill Sarah, there's more stuff we should be doing with the cop thing. And there's more stuff we
agreed.
should be doing with...
Roy's only in this episode for a little bit, and a lot of that stuff needs some more development, so...
And we should be dealing with the way everybody feels about what happens if one of them accidentally were to kill a person, or hurt a person, or something. Because I don't have a good enough sense of how everybody comes down on some of that stuff. And as I keep saying, I don't have a good sense of who these people are at the core this whole season. That is continuing to be a big problem. So Joshua Perez, so Red Arrow was a red herring? Well done.
Oh, it's clever.
I love this. Damn fine cup of coffee. It's hard for me to get this worked up over Arrow.
Fair enough, I guess.
I get worked up over it. Well, not worked up. I speak passionately. Like whatever topic I happen to be dealing with at the time, I'm just like this. So if that's what you're responding to, it's just, I'm not worked up like, oh man, I'm so angry about this show. It's just, I give everything a little bit of credence. I want everything to be great. So, I speak passionately.
Maybe it just speaks to the fact that we're emotionally invested and they let us down, so...
A lot of people congratulating me still on my new son. Thanks a lot for that. And somebody called him our new Spawn.
Oh, that's awesome.
Satnas! Sorry, what?
Did he come with a little cape or no? Does he get that later?
No, but we do have those Spawn pajamas that we made for Jason for Spawn year, so when he's old enough, he can wear those. The Spawn pajama, the homemade Spawn pajamas will be hand-me-downs. So these will be fighting words for you, Steve. I agree with this. Satnas, the Cupid episode makes these two look like freaking masterpieces by comparison.
Wow, I don't know, man. Like, I think Cupid's a masterpiece compared to those last two episodes.
Nope.
I'm not even saying it's a fantastic episode. I just liked it a lot.
You're wrong. I don't agree with you. Shadow... We'll talk about it. Shadows and Shines 11. Okay. Hi, I don't know if I know you, so... Pleased to meet your acquaintance. Sarah's killer is Diggle's wife, and Waller wanted her killed. They're setting up a falling out between Ollie and Dig like in Lemire's run. Mark my words. I don't know why I didn't think of that as a possibility. Here's the question. Does Sarah know her? Because I just don't remember if they ever had any screen time together. They could, but I don't remember if they've ever met. I might be forgetting something. I just don't remember.
I don't remember it off the top of my head, but again, it's possible. And I mean, Lila's been in this season a lot, but she's always like doing other things and still with Argus, and they keep like shooing her into the background. So maybe there's a reveal there. And
I've been predicting that Waller is probably connected to Sarah's death because we're doing all that background stuff in for the third year of the on island / China stuff, and I just don't see Waller not being a huge part of the A story. So that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Yeah. I still kind of think Sin over her. Maybe just because that's what I would do over. I don't know. And I think part of the thing too is I don't want that to happen to Diggle. Like I want Diggle really deserves to be happy. I don't want that to happen to him. At the same time, it's you need conflict in stories. This is what we do to characters. So.
Yeah, I think the Diggle thing could be interesting, but if we don't address what happens to Sin, then it's going to be a bit of a problem either way. Because Sin hasn't made any appearance, and she was supposed to be really important in Season 2, because Sarah was charged with protecting that guy's daughter who landed on the island, and they made sort of a big thing with their connection, and then she just up and disappears.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
Do something with Sin.
I forgot that we had seeded a thing for her to be important about later. Yeah. Because, they might have just done that so that we could be like, oh, okay, so that's why she went and found her, but none of that stuff's resolved.
Yeah, exactly. So, if Sin doesn't show up, then it's a problem, and if Sin's the killer, then it might solve that. Or it might make that more interesting, I don't know.
This is a good question. This is the last one we'll tackle before we jump into today's episode. Lots of good, insightful comments, so that's why we're tackling spending so much time on it. Johnny5222, hey Cap, do you think the reason this season hasn't been that good is because the writers have too much on their plates? They have the Flash show and the Green Arrow comics. Do you think they're too concentrated on those than Arrow? That would explain the bad writing to me. I've been wondering that a little bit myself. Now, I need to go back and look at writing credits and see exactly who has worked on what. Suffice it to say, you can never be completely sure how much of people's time is used in the writing room and stuff like that. Just because somebody's name is on a thing doesn't mean that Kreisberg and the other guy, I can't remember his name right now, weren't, didn't still spend plenty of time helping that guy flesh out his ideas and all of that. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, and I thought the same thing when they announced that Kreisberg was going to write the new run of Green Arrow, because, I mean, first of all, I just didn't want that book to look like the Arrow show, and that's why I'm not liking that book that much right now, because it's just too much of a reimagining of the TV show, but I just don't think the writing's that good, but also, because at the very beginning, Eric and I, first season, and on a rewatch, I like it better, but first season, we thought the first few episodes left a little bit to be desired in the writing department, and that they got a lot better as they went along, and they clearly have had a lot of on-the-job training, just like some of these actors have, working on the show and building their craft and that kind of thing, and you put too much on their plate, and that could really hurt one of or all three of the products in some way. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's definitely a factor.
Yeah, there's probably a lot in there, because the writers of Berlanti, Guggenheim, and Kreisberg have been really sporadically working on Arrow, but they also keep doing things with Flash, and they keep hyping up Flash, and they have a lot of, story credits or, videos talking about what they're doing with Flash. And then, of course, there's the comic, and comic publishing is a whole nother animal to tackle. Yeah. So it really very well could be that they're stretched too thin. At the same time, they're setting up so many mysteries and stuff, and Flash has been pretty competent so far. So I don't know. I wonder if maybe Flash just became their new baby, and Arrow's falling a little bit by the wayside. I don't know if that theory is fully true, because all three of them have been working on more episodes of Arrow than they have of Flash. But that might just be because they have more writers over on Flash, and they're still spearheading most of it.
Yeah, I mean, some of it might just be they're excited about this new thing, and they've been on Arrow for a while. I think there is almost certainly, and I could be proved wrong as we move along, we're 7 episodes in, there's still a lot more season left, we could just be staving off the big cool stuff, and we might end up, I keep thinking this, we might end up with a flip of last season. Last season, first half was great, and then it got really convoluted. This season, it might end up being the flip of that, but I'm wondering if it isn't just simply we kind of thought we might get canceled first season, and so we shoved a lot of stuff there, and then we shoved a lot of stuff second season, and now that it's successful and we're really rolling, we kind of did all our cool stuff already, I not all of it, like obviously Leave Assassins they were setting up. They have things they want to do, but I don't know that they have a plan, not a fully realized plan. I don't mean everything outlined and mapped. I just mean what are their goals? What are they wanting to say with this? What stories do they have to tell right now? I don't know. Right now, it just seems like we're kind of trying to. I keep saying that we're plotting. Sorry, not plotting, but characterizing scene to scene right now, and that could really be a byproduct of that. We want to make it entertaining in the moment, but we don't ultimately have a vision anymore. Let's see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And the director, not directors, but the writers, producers of the show, they keep hyping up the season as being breathing room, being back to basics. I wonder if that's less so for the characters and more so just for them, so they can get back in front of the wheel to see where they want to go.
Yeah. Maybe so. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode, and today we're talking about Cupid, which we have already revealed Steve really liked, and I really didn't, and it'll be interesting to see if either of us can sway the other and what exactly our opinions are. So, Steve, let's start with you. Let's begin with why you thought it was good, and then we'll go through some notes. I just took a whole bunch of sporadic notes and kind of just want to go down my list after we kind of give our brief, immediate thoughts. So, why did it work for you, dude?
Okay, so the things with the last few episodes, the last 6 episodes, has been we keep building up this mystery with who killed Sarah and the characters being uncharacteristic about how they go about investigating that mystery.
Yeah.
Like everything with Malcolm not working, everything with Laurel wanting to be Black Canary now not working. Laurel's not in this episode, and that's already a plus. But this one is just, it's breathing room, like we talked about. Like, this is space. This is just a story within that universe, and we're using Cupid to parallel Oliver about attachment issues. And that's kind of been the root of his character for the whole season so far, and we're kind of doing a little bit with it. Granted, it is kind of like CW hammed-up relationship stuff, but it's still, we learn a lot about Oliver through Cupid, and that's a good trope. And I appreciate the fact that in Cupid, we're getting something with her where she's not a master manipulator. She's not a really awesome archer that makes like these 10-minute fights. She gets beat really easily. Her plans aren't that great, and Oliver is more like learning about himself and fighting himself and getting her than he is fighting her.
What do we learn about him exactly?
Well, there's that scene where he's in the therapist's office, and there's that really obvious line which granted isn't great also, but she says, like, you could use therapy as well.
Right.
And then Diggle has that whole thing of he's not thinking straight this whole episode, and a lot of that has to do with Felicity.
Yeah.
And so this whole season's been like Oliver doesn't want to be with anyone. He wants to distance himself from everybody. But then the problem that Cupid has, psychologically speaking, that what the therapist says is she's got attachment disorder. So she pushes everyone away and fixates on one person, and that in turn makes her ineffective and crazy. And so Oliver's seeing like what he could very easily become. He's just as crazy as Cupid is, just in a different way, and he's finally realizing that.
Okay. I mean, I think you could have done it with a character that seemed less wooden. I mean, like, there's nothing to her, man. I mean, she's just a disorder. I didn't really buy how she got to it. I don't know. She just seemed like we want a really extreme personality, so we throw her in there, and I didn't think she was any more interesting than. I mean, she's got a cool costume, and she's she's like really energetic on screen and stuff. But character-wise, I didn't find her any more or less interesting than the guy that we dealt with a couple episodes with Felicity that she thought was dead. I mean, I thought it was all really typical and kind of obvious where it all went.
Yeah, fair enough. She's really obviously just a tool to explore the protagonist, and they do that a lot with Arrow.
Yeah, but they've done it.
Better cases of it. Like, I mean, we get so many characters that are nothing but the extreme personality in the show anyway. Like when what's his name? When Deadshot first appeared, when Count Vertigo first appeared, and now with her being on the Suicide Squad, it's very easy to say that she could be better. And I feel like the actress is already very good. The thing that they do with Oliver is already interesting enough. She's not generic in every other sense. Like, she's not just another deadly assassin. She's not just another Komodo. She's not just another Malcolm. There's a lot of potential there.
You think? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Ugh, I didn't see that at all. I cringed real hard with the Suicide Squad thing at the end for a couple reasons. One of them was just I don't want to see her again. I don't think she's a bad actress, but I don't like the character. I don't like what she's doing. Some people are not going to like me for saying this. This is just my opinion. This is a thing I can't help but go to right now, so forgive me, everybody that thinks I go here too much. If I had never seen an episode of Smallville, I could have dealt with this episode better. But there is so much Smallville here. She is your typical CW, obsessed with the main character and wanting to, I love you and I won't take anything less than, I will kill everyone for you and I won't take anything less than us being together, and it doesn't really come much from a place. Arrow, I guess, elevates that slightly by, instead of making it kryptonite-inspired, making it a psychological disorder and making her kind of a Batman villain in that way. I guess. I had a hard time getting a real good sense for both how she got there. I mean, it was just kind of okay. She had this kind of traumatic experience with what was going on at the end of last season. I mean, I like that it didn't come out of nowhere. I like that it came from the stuff going on last season. Also, let me tack this in there. I thought it was really interesting that we got a flashback that was outside of the regular flashbacks. We almost never do that. Like usually, if we do a flashback, it's always that was interesting. But anyway, like it was just kind of breaking the rules of the show. But I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying it was kind of interesting. But anyway, like so. You have the kind of like doctor-patient thing where you have a patient that is saved by on the operating table and then falls in love with her doctor. It's that kind of situation, and she just takes it to this insane extreme because she develops this disorder. And I guess part of that is supposed to come from her background as a police officer. Maybe she's seen too much or snapped or something. I wasn't sure where the extreme personality came from.
Well, importantly, it wasn't Arrow saving her that triggered the personality. The personality was already there. Arrow was just the next target of it.
Okay, what was she doing before that exactly?
Before she was on a SWAT team thing, and apparently she got kicked out of that because she became too obsessed with her partner.
Is that what it... Okay.
That's at least what the psychiatrist says.
I missed that line. So, that's... Okay, alright. So we got that. That's good. I don't know, man. Everything about her rubbed me the wrong way. I had a hard time... Again... Some of it's a taste thing, I guess. Just because she reminded me of the 1001 Crypto-Freak chicks that... there weren't that many, but, there's a few. That are, like, obsessed with Clark or Lex. I don't think there's ever one that's obsessed with both of them simultaneously. But, trying to get them to commit to her fully or whatever. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more if Oliver had been even remotely attracted to her. There was nothing there at all. Like, they use her to, again, as you said, try to parallel what's going on with him in being detached and not able to connect with people. But it would have been cool if I actually saw more of him in her. Once again, it was really kind of just, she embodies that one aspect, and that's it. I don't know, man.
Yeah, one of the things with her is, like, when you mentioned the Crypto Freaks, what's cool about her is that she's not a threat. Like, on any level, she's really not that menacing, and if Diggle wanted to, Diggle could take her out. If Roy was competent and right now, he could take her out if he wanted to. Like, she's not really a threat. She's just an obsessed person, and more than anything, Ollie feels bad for her.
Wow, you're seeing stuff in this episode I didn't see at all. I didn't see her really.
Like, that's what he said. Like, he said he doesn't want to send her to Iron Heights because he feels bad for her.
I thought that
I
thought that came out of nowhere. Maybe I need to give it a second watch because, again, busy. Only got a chance to watch it the one time. But I didn't see him really empathizing with her that much until we got to the end, which maybe is his character arc. Maybe it's he needed to have that speech about Felicity in that scene, in that one scene, but maybe that had to happen first, and then he started to kind of appreciate her more. But I don't know when he says that at the end, and also. Really, like, she's killing everything to get to him, and he's gonna send her off to the Suicide Squad, and he's okay with her ever being around people again, and you can't trust Waller or people in the Suicide Squad.
She killed the villain from last week, and that's it.
No, she didn't. She killed lots of people in this episode.
No, she didn't. She killed the guy from last week, she kidnapped a guy that Oliver saved, and then Oliver just tracked her to the nightclub, and they had a fight.
I thought she killed...
Maybe she killed, like, maybe one more guy there, but she really only killed, like, maybe one or two people, and both of them were already bad guys.
But she was... I guess when she's talking about all the people she wants to kill, you're not believing she's really going to do it. Because I sure was. Like, when you say she's not a threat to Oliver, but she seems totally postal to me.
Oh yeah, she's crazy, but, like, she's not any kind of, like, physical match for him.
No,
she on
certainly
her own
not.
Can't really do anything. Like, the best thing about that fight is she pulls out her arrow and Oliver, like, 3 feet away, just blasts it out of her hand. Like, she's really incompetent throughout most of it. Her whole plan to blow up that guy in front of him doesn't work at all. She runs away.
That's a good point, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think, I know what you mean about, like, maybe not buying the thing that Oliver about feeling bad for it, but what I saw in it a little bit was Oliver through the whole episode is, like, denying things, and he's denying his feelings, and he forgets, like, little details. Like, he forgets what he asked Felicity to search, He's not able to like catch her the first time when he easily could have. And then when Diggle confronts him and Oliver says that he doesn't want to date Felicity because she's happy now, then all of that buildup just finally gets unleashed in that Cupid fight, and he finally feels something, and that's his character arc. And he realizes that maybe she's just like that. Maybe she's crazy, but she's got the same problem he does, and that doesn't make him any better than she is. And so he has to learn to connect a little bit. And at the end of the episode, when he gets back to the Arrow Cave, after seeing that really dramatic Ray Palmer kissing Felicity thing, he knocks down everything on the table, and he allows himself to feel something by using Roy, and they go to have dinner with the Diggles.
Yeah, and I liked that a lot. I mean, all that stuff at the end I thought was really good, and I mean, like, that helped a lot. Honestly, my big stuff with this episode is all Felicity related. But
yeah, that's my thing. I didn't like any of the romance stuff, but I thought the main Cupid Oliver stuff was good.
Boy, I mean, maybe part of it was just that, like, I was not enjoying the Felicity stuff at all, and I did not understand why we were even wasting time on the Thea stuff, and we'll talk about all of that. And then, and then the Cupid thing, I don't know, it wasn't interesting to me at all. I'm agreeing with you with what the show is saying with it, and with what is there. And I guess I like that I'm understanding maybe a little bit more through that of what they're doing with Oliver this season. But here's the thing. I thought it was an opportunity, potentially, to improve upon the stuff I didn't like with Huntress. Because Huntress was another of these kind of tunnel vision, obsessive personalities that, and she has that in common with Oliver, and Oliver kind of falls for her and ends up, getting into trouble because of that. And I guess it would have been a character backtrack if he had fallen for this girl, I suppose. So maybe I'm just saying that if we hadn't done the Huntress stuff, it would have been easier to deal with. This could have been more fun than it was. I guess I don't know how this could have been a romance. I don't know, man. All in all, I just don't like her. I don't know. I've got notes.
Fair enough. I don't know. Like, I enjoyed the actress a lot. I thought what they did with her was great. But like you said, the biggest thing about this episode was like the Felicity and Thea stuff, which just doesn't work at all.
Yeah. And I didn't even think that using her to try to parallel and explore how Oliver feels about Felicity really worked all that well either. Partly because, maybe mostly because, it's no secret. I mean, we like when Diggle says you need to tell her how you feel, I'm like, no, she knows that already. We all know how he feels. The issue is not that they're not communicating. The issue is that they have both severed lines of communication a long time ago and nothing has changed.
Well, yeah, but I thought that's what they were dealing with this in episode, that Oliver needs to say something about it. He can't just distance himself and act like this isn't eating him up, which is what he's been doing for every episode since then.
I'm not buying that. I mean, I don't understand how it changes anything. I don't know why him telling her that it's bothering him changes anything. She can tell. I mean, obviously it would bother him. But like I said, nothing has changed. They both know that they both like each other, and the only reason they can't be together is because he's decided he's going to be Arrow and Oliver Queen. What has changed? This is not an issue of...
Maybe this is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Maybe what it is at the end with the Ray Palmer date, if that didn't happen, and like he didn't walk in on them kissing, and you got to see that scene where Oliver walks into his office and they talk, would that have fixed it for you? Because, I mean, that was one of my worst moments of... That kiss and that love triangle thing was dumb.
Yeah.
But if Oliver did go in there and walk and they did have a conversation about it, I think all of that would have came together a lot better.
Or it might have just seemed like somewhat of a wasted episode if they have a talk and they stay in the exact same place they've been in. Because I just feel like the talk has happened already. I feel like the relationship they've had since the first episode has been distanced, and it has to be. This is not an issue, I don't think, of Oliver needs to talk to her. This is an issue of Oliver's either going to brood forever about the fact that he can't be with anyone if he's going to be... Because this isn't just about Felicity. He's not letting himself have a personal life. It's that superhero trope. And it's not just about Felicity. It's about anybody. He can't be with anyone. So he just would have to change his lifestyle. So he needs to either say, like, what I would do with it is I would have him actually go to Felicity and ask her to stop working with them. That's what I would do. Because if he could find a replacement for her somehow, somebody else that's good at the computer stuff. Because the only problem that's going on right now is that Oliver has to work with the girl that he wishes he could date. I mean, that's the only problem. He's decided to be the Arrow. If he didn't have somebody like her, if he didn't have her around, and he didn't fall for every single girl that's not Cupid in the show ever, then he could operate. Then he could turn off the personal life stuff, and he could be as like unemotional and as tunnel vision. I'm just going to be the Arrow. As he'd like to be, at least until, that breaks down, because, he is an actual person, and yeah, you can't do that forever. But all I'm saying is, I don't understand what a conversation would solve. I didn't know what Diggle was getting. I mean, you gotta tell her how you feel, man. I'm like, well, of course that's how he feels. They both wish they were together. They're just stringing this out. I wonder if the problem isn't that we didn't actually let them date for a few episodes and then go there, but...
That's possible, yeah.
But I'm saying that having not seen that and how they would have handled it, because obviously, as I say that, some people might be thinking, well, you'd probably just complain that they never let Oliver spend enough time dating anybody, and we know he's not going to be with Felicity forever, because he'll probably get with Laurel because she's Black Canary. So what's the point? But I'm just saying that for the character growth, but just for the characters and who these people are and what they're trying to do right now, it seems like part of it is that came out of nowhere for me. I mean, the end of last season, the whole I love you, and I'm actually not just doing this for a ruse. I actually really do love you thing. It came out of nowhere, and then they didn't even get a chance to. They decided not to do anything with it, and I feel like they're at a stuck place with it. They can't. All I'm saying is, you could do this entire season with them staying kind of distant and not dealing with each other, and then Oliver, on his own, figuring out a way to get back to her to make his Arrow life and his personal life come together. There's a thing he's got to learn, and it's not going to be through talking to Felicity. So you're right. This might be the beginning of breaching that with the Cupid thing of him facing how screwed up his life is, and his obsession with being the Arrow now there in that therapist office. I didn't love the way that scene was written, but that's what they're trying to do there. So I see what you're saying there. I don't know. Anyway, I just don't understand what a conversation with her really solves, and it struck me as really typical TV drama stuff.
It's a step in the right direction, at least. Like when we get to the very end and we get to Roy and Oliver going to the Diggles' house and they're going to have dinner. And you get the sense that Oliver is at least a little bit being less stoic than he was. And I think that alone makes it... I think it's already better than Guilty, because I didn't like anything about Guilty. But at least in this episode, they're conscious of the fact that what Oliver's doing isn't the smartest idea. It is a little bit crazy. Yeah. And he might bring his way to something more relatable later.
Yes, here's what I will give it. I like where we are at the end with Oliver. I feel like I understand him more this season because I have felt like with everybody, I don't really know where they're at, and it has made it maddeningly difficult to talk about. And so, that's good. And it's where I hoped it was, but I just couldn't be sure about it. So that's good. I think it could have been done 15 times more effectively. I mean, give me an episode that I'm enjoying watching before you get Oliver to the dinner at the end, because that was tender, that was short and sweet. I liked that we didn't even have a dinner scene. I liked that Diggle reveals that he had invited them there and hoped that they would come, and that Oliver is having interpersonal relationships that aren't about his being Arrow. I think it is also very interesting that he is beginning with people who are in that world. that everybody in that world needs that. I think that's really great. All 4 of those people need to get out of that. Even Diggle's wife has that. So that's all really good. But that's a minute and a half after of an episode that I thought was otherwise really obvious and just no fun. I don't know, man.
Okay, well, I mean, I had fun with it. I'm not saying this is a good episode. Like, it's not going to end up on my top 10 of Arrow or anything. But I think you could give it that it's better than what we got with Guilty. It's better than what we got with, like, Corto Maltese and stuff. Like, there's things in here to enjoy, and there's at least competence being placed on the character stuff. And it's nowhere near as boring and completely out of nowhere and nothing makes sense the way the last couple episodes were.
I wasn't bored with the last couple too, especially even the Felicity one. There were things in there that like as I'm watching it, I was kind of sort of enjoying, even though the actual story it's so weird. It's kind of backwards. It's like I didn't like where we were going, but while I was in it, I wasn't disliking it as much as I did after I finished it. This episode was the opposite. It's as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I feel like I've been here 1,000 times, and then where we get at the end, I like. I want to go through a few notes, and we'll get to all the Felicity stuff and all that stuff, and we'll we'll talk about lots of things. Okay, so where should I begin? Okay, Sherwood Florist, really? How convenient is that?
Well,
that was hilarious.
Oliver and Dinah used to live above like a Sherwood Florist place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the comics. I
Is
think
that a
was
thing?
Mike Run when they first moved to was it Seattle? I think.
Okay, but it's really convenient that this girl calling herself Cupid that's obsessed with Arrow just happens to be close to that place. I didn't know that was a comic book thing, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's almost, maybe I'm going too overboard when I say this. I think part of this episode was too blatant of an attempt to create a female character that Oliver isn't into, so that they could combat the criticism of Oliver falls in love with and sleeps with every girl in the show.
Maybe, fair enough.
And that might have something to do with why I didn't like her as well, because I think that they were trying too hard to make her unlikable.
I mean, I don't think they were trying too hard to make her unlikable, but I think I don't see what you're saying of like they didn't want to push a relationship at the very least.
I still, with this episode, even more don't understand Diggle last episode. I want to know how there needs to be a conversation. I want to know how Diggle feels about Roy killing that cop, because when it was Sarah, when he thought that Roy might have killed Sarah, he wanted Oliver to get rid of him. Does he not feel the same way that he killed a cop? Is it just if it's a person we know? And then you were talking about double standards. So in this episode, he's fine with him being around, says nothing about it, and invites him to his house. There should be a conversation about this.
Yeah, and I mean, when he thought he killed Sarah, he said he was going to go turn himself in. He's not going to turn himself in over a cop? That's really... Because it's the exact same thing, effectively. You kill a cop or you kill a vigilante that's dishing out cop-level justice. It's the exact same thing, whether or not you know them or whether or not you remember.
I am more okay with that than I am about Diggle just not explaining whether or not he feels the same way about the cop thing as he did with Sarah. Because, at least with Roy not turning himself in... That seems to be, and maybe there should be a line about it, but that seems to be Oliver's trying to convince him that he did not technically kill that cop, so he doesn't deserve to go to jail. I think that they are somewhat addressing that, certainly not very much, but I think that is certainly more addressed than this other thing that I'm kind of complaining about.
Yeah, I mean, Diggle's been all over the place for a while now.
Yeah.
Like, in the very first episode, Oliver says, you can't work with me anymore, and then Diggle has a kid and says, yeah, everything's different now, you're right. But now he works with him every single day, we don't get anything with the kid anymore?
That's a good point. Yeah, why is he still... Well, the thing that... Okay, no, here's the thing, though. They addressed that. The reason Diggle is back full-time now is because of Sarah, but they're not doing very much to investigate that right now. That's the problem.
Yeah, they're not doing that, and I mean, we haven't seen their kid in a really long time, and if Lila's always doing, like, Argus stuff, like, who takes care of the kid?
No, that's
what
not
happened to his perspective change?
No, but that's not true. Not a really long time. We had the kid 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, but like he wasn't doing anything. You know, like the kid hasn't changed his life any more than his life was last season, and I think that's been bugging.
Token scenes. You're right. They are token, but they are there. Yeah, but you're right. I agree with that. Let me just read this note. Sorry, I'm looking at notes of mine. I'm like, what was I talking about? Here's my note, and then I'll decide if I want to talk about it or just move on. My note is, Diggle thinks Oliver should date Felicity regardless of the reasons that he decided not to date her at the beginning. He's like, because he says, if you cared about making her happy, then you'd be the one with her right now. And after what happened that first episode, he had really good reasons for not being with her, and also, to the point you were making a minute ago, the only reason Diggle is still here right now is because of Sarah. Diggle chose his personal life over the Arrow thing, decided that Oliver was right about it. You have to have one or the other. Now he has just arbitrarily decided, oh no, you can have both, it's cool. Is he telling Oliver to hang up the bow? If he just said, look dude, I think the city will be okay without you. Let's solve the what should be happening is he should say, let's solve the Sarah case, and then we're finished. And then these other things pop up in between, and then maybe by the time they solve the Sarah case, they decide the city can't live without them. But honestly, I think that should be his perspective right now.
Yeah, I mean, they got to what you were saying in the first episode of, like, the city can't live without us, and he has to be the Arrow.
Yeah.
But I think that's a little bit too fast, a little bit unjustified. I mean, sure, the Slade thing was bad, but crime was down and everything, and people were happy. And that's why Oliver chose to go with that life.
And I think the idea was, everything's good now because we're still doing this, and so, like, the city kind of needs us, and then obviously he immediately realizes that the whole, sometimes we cause more bad than good things, and my past continues to come back to haunt me, and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't know why Diggle is like, no, that's cool, have both lives. Like, I think that Oliver has already convinced him that you can kind of only do one or the other.
Yeah, Diggle chose one over the other. Oliver's confused about it.
Yeah.
So what's Oliver telling Roy? I don't get that. Like, Roy wanted to work with him at the very beginning because he was really vengeful. And so he trained him because he had Mirror Crew in his system to help him get under control. Now he doesn't have it in his system. Oliver's deciding whether or not what he can do. Diggle's saying that you're like torturing yourself over it. Why isn't Roy feeling any of this at all?
I don't know. I mean, I could see Oliver telling Roy, if you feel like you're responsible for that comp's death, even though I don't think that you are, the best way you can make up for it is by continuing to do what we're doing. And that would be the thing that would keep him there. Before that, I don't know.
Yeah, but, like, even with the cop, like, he's not even, like, admitting to Roy that this takes its toll whether or not you're guilty of something. Like, Roy's never even stopped to think of, like, what being a vigilante would do to him. Especially because Roy and Oliver's relationship right now is nothing but generic, I trust you because the script tells me to.
Yeah, exactly. Steve, give me just a second. You have frozen up. Oh, there you are. Hold on. Okay, you moved for a second and then you froze up somewhere. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Your connection lost for a second.
Yeah. Yes, it did. Okay. Do we look good?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're good right now.
You know what? Let me hang up on you and call you back because you're sounding a little finicky. Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, that's better.
Hello. Anyway.
Again.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
About the Roy thing, yeah. Roy and Oliver's relationship and all that.
Yeah, I don't know where we were, but...
Oh, Roy doesn't have any of the same conflicts that Oliver does, and Oliver should at least be warning him about him, and their relationship right now is just nothing but generic.
Yeah, it is really generic, and I mean, like I said, I still have no idea where that thing comes from of we implicitly trust each other and all of that. It just feels like we had a whole episode that we've missed.
Yeah. And I mean, people say like the 6-month gap might be where it comes from, but I mean, we need to see that. Like, it's important to the characters, it's important to their growth, and you can't just jump over it.
Yeah. Okay, can we complain? Can I complain about one of the big things I want to complain about?
Sure, go ahead.
What's the deal with the DJ thing? Why are we?
I have no idea. That was dumb.
Why are we wasting
out of nowhere? That was CW teenage drama kind of thing.
And we waste
I didn't care.
so much of the episode with it. So since it's there, and since there's so much of it, I'm going to nitpick about it. Yes, I am. I'm going to do this because it's hilarious. First of all, because I'm like, I don't know why I'm supposed to find any of this remotely important or interesting. Maybe they'll go someplace with it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm here. So if I have to pay attention to it anyway, I'll say this: I don't understand modern music. I don't understand it. That DJ shows up and is like, I'm this awesome DJ, and this guy totally sucks, and no one's dancing, and your whole party at your nightclub is ruined, and you're making no money. Let me come and fix it. I must be completely out of time, because I couldn't see very much of a difference between the music that guy was playing and the music the new DJ was playing.
No, same here. Like, I've been to places that Thea has made, like club scenes like that. The music's exactly the same. I don't understand what they were complaining about. It's...
was it that... and here's what was really funny about it, too. The only thing I can figure is that it wasn't the music. They acted like it was the music. But from what I can figure, it was two things. The DJ was not jumping around a lot, and there weren't a whole bunch of flashy pattern lights everywhere. If that DJ had just pressed the flashy light button, then people would have been dancing. But apparently, the only reason he was a terrible DJ is because he didn't press the right buttons. Furthermore, she didn't even get the guy to audition, and she gives him a job several times a week before even hearing him play anything.
I mean, she says she's desperate in that situation, so they make a deal, but I don't buy any of that.
I don't buy any of that.
The music the guy that is evidently bad was playing was no different than the music we got in the club last season.
He's completely full of himself, and then at the end, she lets him kiss her, which is completely inappropriate, and she goes along with it anyway, and now they're going to be dating, and now that I've nitpicked the stupid music thing, who cares? Have we forgotten that the audience knows that she has access to $1 million, does not even need this club thing, is acting really underhanded behind Oliver's back, knows that Malcolm's still around, training with him to do God knows what. It's playing like she's just a normal girl that I'm supposed to care about on a normal kind of level. No, she's totally different. She's working with an evil mastermind now. We should not be wasting time with this kind of stuff. And unless it pays off at the end of this episode somehow, like even if it pays off later, they really lost me with that, man.
Yeah. I mean, whatever the Malcolm Thea thing pans out to be, it doesn't matter how that gels with this, because this scene by itself is completely pointless. Whether or not they bring it back later, it doesn't matter. Whether or not it was foreshadowed, doesn't matter, because no one cares. Also, the whole DJ thing is just superfluous. Like, it doesn't add anything to her character. It doesn't do anything to move her plot forward. It's just there to be there.
But also, they're being so mysterious with her right now. They're being so cryptic with what her motivations are and who she even is right now that they have led me to a place where I'm somewhere between dislike and don't know what to think. You can't do these kinds of stories with a character like that.
No, and I mean, like, her and Oliver had a pretty good back and forth back in Corto Maltese.
Yeah.
And about the fact, like, that Oliver's dad killed himself on the boat, and they learned that, and she was dealing with secrets and stuff. Where is all that? Like, Where's their relationship reigniting? Where's her growing, I don't know, either going through a growth or being manipulative? They haven't decided, or even if they have decided, they haven't let us know that. And then the club thing, there's no character drama there. So I don't know why we need to see it. Even if it's going to pay off to something, it's not what was set up, and so it's just losing us just by the nature of, like, serialized television. It's not keeping me gripped every episode.
And now I want to ask you about Felicity. I just can't decide if she's being shallow or if she just sees a thing in Ray Palmer that I don't understand yet, because I still don't get that character.
She has that speech.
What is going
about
on?
Him being inspiring, and that's stupid.
comes out of nowhere. I mean, it feels like the show telling me what I'm supposed to think of that character, because I'm usually with Felicity. She usually is pretty rational and reasonable and makes some kind of sense. Felicity does not strike me as the girl that is seduced by a fancy dress and an expensive necklace.
Yeah, they've had like this
back
and forth throughout the whole season with Ray Palmer. And I was okay with that, whatever. We don't get into his head, but Felicity's not really taking him seriously. And then all of a sudden she does.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done anything in this in-between space that made her like him more, outside of the fact that his watch is just conveniently built with Wi-Fi and it saved his mom's life. But that wasn't him.
Yeah.
She didn't even thank him for it. It didn't matter. It's not like he knew about it.
I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm probably going to dog on it for a thing that it's either not really doing or it doesn't realize it's doing. Does it not feel to you like? And honestly, the Cupid thing is like, I just didn't really like that character much. But with this was the thing that really grated on it. This is the thing that really brought the episode really down. Well, and the way the Cupid thing ends, we'll talk about that. But I mean, that was almost 60s Batman, like, really. But and I mean that in a bad way for this show. When 60s Batman does it, it's okay, because it knows it's campy. But I don't know, man, with the Felicity thing, okay, so, tell me if you read it. Like, I don't want to read it, but feel like it just is right now. Did she not just get completely swept away by him because he has a lot of money, and then and like gives her stuff, or and lets her wear nice, and then turns around at the end and says, "I understand Ray Palmer. He doesn't care about money." I just don't understand what's going on.
No, I don't get it either. I think what it is, and maybe we've talked about this earlier, maybe not, but this show thinks Ray Palmer is Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man.
That's what Eric said, and I didn't see that until he said that, and now I see what you guys are saying. If that's what it thinks, it's not doing that, because it's playing him as being really noble but with money. Like, that's what they keep telling us. That's what's weird.
He's kind of obnoxious, he's full of himself, he buys what he wants, but underneath there's something that gives him drive and that's relatable. They just haven't explored that at all, and somehow Felicity sees it, and it's out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So maybe they're doing like the Iron Man 1 thing, but he's nowhere near as developed as Iron Man. The script just thinks he is.
The problem is, the difference with the Iron Man thing, I just don't see that as much. The difference with Iron Man is that Iron Man is the character who is really deeply full of himself and has to learn to have a heart and to care about something more than himself, and he has to see his technology doing horrible things to people before he really starts to care about other people. This is not Ray Palmer. We are told constantly how much of a heart this guy has, how selfless he is. He has that whole thing a couple episodes ago where he's making $1 this year and giving all the rest of it to charity, but then he keeps doing things to manipulate people with the money he has, and it's almost like the show is saying that that you can't help but be that eccentric if you have that much money, but that Ray Palmer doesn't really, that what he's about is not money, but it comes off as it's easy to say that when you have that much. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, I'm being quirky, and somehow that's supposed to be kind of charming to the audience. But the problem is, the way, maybe I need to watch it again, but the way he got Oliver's company seemed almost backhanded to me.
In a way it was. Oliver had a speech about, like, he's a changed man, and then Ray Palmer was just, well, I'll make it successful again. The way he gets Felicity to go out with him is he buys her a dress and lets her rent a really fancy necklace. And the biggest thing that she's broken about in the episode is the necklace has to go back. And that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
It's not... They think he's Iron Man, but they haven't done anything near enough to make him that personality. But when you get to the end and there's like that Atom exosuit and stuff, they really think this guy has built himself up to be Tony Stark. They just haven't done any of the character stuff to get us there.
Yeah. I mean, like superficially, the
exactly, yeah, like that's what it is.
But Iron Man only in the sense of he's got the charming rich guy thing. But I do think they think that he is already more heroic and selfless than Tony Stark.
Yeah, exactly.
okay, that's where I'm not with you there. I think they think that this guy has everything completely figured out, and that the money thing is just a harmless eccentricity. The way he got Oliver's company was he knew. I'm sure of this. He knew who Felicity Smoke was when he went to the store she worked at and pretended like he didn't know who she was, and then used her to get into the mainframe and get all that information that he used for his speech to get the board to go with him. And we're supposed to still see him as charming and endearing, and that's all okay because Oliver ultimately goes, A, I don't want the company, and B, he has a good plan and he seems like he's the right guy for it and his heart's in the wrong place. But his actions haven't lined up enough with what he's saying. I don't know, it's just, if the tone of the show wasn't so much this guy is so heroic and stuff, I would be really suspicious of him. And the only reason I'm not suspicious of his motivations is because I know I'm not supposed to be. It's almost like, well, he's a comic book superhero, so we know we can trust him. And I'm just having a very, very hard time with that. And I don't feel like Felicity should trust him. I don't understand that.
Yeah, and I mean, if we didn't know he was the Atom, then I think all the way through this episode, my conclusion would be, oh, he's going to be the big bad for this season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think, once again, just like with the whole Roy and Oliver thing, it's like we're missing an episode. I feel like the show thinks it did a thing it hasn't done yet.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where they're ultimately going with him, and I don't know what he's supposed to be or what he's supposed to do outside of just create weird love triangle issues for Oliver. Because nothing he's done outside of Felicity's been interesting, and he actually hasn't done anything outside of Felicity. So, like, I don't know who he is. I know he's a flirt, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that he has a long-term plan for fixing the city. This goes into my big prediction, but I think that, well, I'll save that. But like, I think I kind of maybe know where they're going with him, as far as Oliver is concerned. But we'll talk about it. Give me just a second. Let me make a note about it real quick because I want to make sure that I don't forget something that I just thought of regarding that.
Okay, sure. Just everything about him in this episode, I don't know, it just didn't play for me. Especially the dinner scene. We're gonna get to that with my worst moment, but that dinner speech, man. Oh, yeah, it's frustratingly bad.
As you said earlier, we've got the typical locking in on the other two prongs of a love triangle kissing scene. Maybe part of my disdain for watching this as I was watching it was that on top of the really typical female crypto freak. Look, I don't think these guys know how to write women right now. Like, I almost didn't even notice that Laurel wasn't there. Because I don't think they can write the other women they have in the show. Once again, one of them is not really a character, and I know that even though you enjoyed watching her, you were even the first person to say that she's not really a character.
Yeah, it's weird, because I mean, when Laurel first showed up in season 1, she was pretty good, and then Sarah in season 2 was really good, so I don't know what their malfunctions are with writing other female characters, or as far as, like, making them interesting to the plot.
Yeah. And then, as I said, the 60s Batman thing, really? Railroad track? Railroad track. Railroad track with a train that immediately shows up. It's that convenient, and, I mean, like, this is almost a trifecta of cliche, right? You've got the railroad track, you've got the train. Well, maybe it's not a trifecta because maybe the railroad track and the train showing up are the same cliche. Okay, fine. It's fine. Then it's a double whammy of a cliche because then we get what is starting to become almost a notorious way to get out of a situation in TV lately. Then Oliver dislocates his thumb or something and immediately gets out of the handcuffs, which, as we have been told by one of our viewers on S.H.I.E.L.D. discussions, is not a way that you can get out of handcuffs if they're put on properly. So it doesn't work with real handcuffs. That only works with fake handcuffs. Maybe she's so incompetent she's using fake handcuffs. But that was so cliche.
Yeah.
And maybe they were having fun with that, and they thought they were being kind of tongue-in-cheek with it, and obviously they're having fun with just how over-the-top and incredibly silly she is. Maybe she's supposed to be a 60s Batman villain in how completely, as you said, incompetent she is at things, and the fact that she has this really obvious gimmick, and she's shooting people with heart arrows. I like that we introduced Captain Boomerang at the end, because compared to her, he seems like the least silly thing in the entire universe. And he's Captain Boomerang! That's great! Those boomerangs, by the way, were the scariest boomerangs in the history of boomerangs. But I don't know, anyway, that was super cliche.
I mean, did you catch that scene, though, at the very, when they go into our apartment, and they're doing that really generic 7S, you walk into an insane person's room and there's newspapers everywhere.
Yep.
And then when Oliver gets a call on the cell phone from her, all he has to do to find her and catch her is turn around. Because she's right outside.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Let's go on to best moment, worst moment, shall we?
Do you want to talk about the flashbacks before that?
Oh, there were flashbacks in this episode. Yeah, we can do that. Sorry, let me say one more thing real quick now that I'm thinking about it, just because I'm looking at my note and, there it is. With the Captain Boomerang thing, I love Captain Boomerang, so, yay, getting us into the next, into the crossover with Flash, which I can't wait for, and it's going to be a lot of fun to do our we're going to have a crossover too with the discussion shows. It's going to be great. You're going to see a Geekvolution Flash Arrow crossover. But anyway, but I did resist 2 endings in a row of the gimmicky set up the next villain in the last frame. Last page of the comic book thing. You do it every now and again, okay, but twice in a row.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not sure if they're trying to make it their new staple or something. I mean, when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is like Quantum Leap and stuff, where at the end of every episode you set up the next bad guy. It's cheesy, but it's built into the medium, so whatever. If they do it every episode like you said, it would get really annoying, though.
Yeah, it's just that's also how Kreisberg keeps ending his issues of his comic.
Oh, okay.
And I'm afraid they're falling back on a formula, and I do get annoyed with that sometimes with comics. And this show has been in the past really amazing with its cliffhangers, and it'll in the last 5 seconds take me to a place that I never expected to go, and I just am waiting for it to get back to surprising me. And I guess that's the problem. Is just this episode overall didn't surprise me in any way.
Yeah, fair enough. Again, I don't think this is a good episode, but I feel like at least for me, it was more enjoyable than the terrible episode we got before.
I can completely understand why you're saying that, but I think you have to enjoy that actress more than I did.
Oh yeah, and I did. I thought she was really fun. Yeah. So
that's totally fair. I just feel like I've seen her in a lot of other CW things, and I haven't.
I mean, it might also be because I really like archery. So I'm like, she's an attractive woman with archery, and she's having the time of her life playing the role. So maybe that's what it is, and it's really superficial. But I don't know, I did enjoy her.
Well, but I mean, you could also say that my complaint about it is superficial because it just reminded me of too many Smallville episodes. So, let's go on to best moment, worst moment. What was your favorite episode? What was your favorite moment, Steve?
Okay, well, my favorite episode was Three Ghosts, but no,
Three Ghosts is pretty good! Yes, it is! I like that one a lot, yeah. It was hanging a little bit on a gimmick, but I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for Christmas Carol episodes.
So am I. You know what? You know what would be really cool? To go back to a bunch of shows and try to make like a top 10 of Christmas Carol episodes. Yes. Because there are a lot.
That's fantastic.
Ooh, we should do that. There's a Christmas thing in there. We should do that. Sorry. Let's get back to Arrow. Best moment, worst moment.
Best moment, it's gonna be I think pretty easily, the Roy and Oliver go to the Diggles house and they're about to have dinner.
That's mine too.
That scene's fantastic. It's shot really well. The house looks really nice and warm and cozy. All the actors smiling and stuff. It just feels, it's a little like, okay, we're about to get to Thanksgiving, whatever, but it just feels really nice, and it's a good place to end his character arc for the episode.
Yeah, it was nice to see Oliver do something really human, but also really reasonable. Yeah. Let's not, especially after knocking all that stuff over in the Arrow Cave, let's not respond to this mirror of myself that I just saw that I was forced to stare into by doing something really stupid.
Yeah.
Let's actually do something healthy for once. Yeah, that helped the episode a lot.
And I thought Roy was good in it too. Like, he finally acts a bit like a teenager. He walks in, it's like something smells good. He's acting like a human being a little bit in this episode, more so than the rest of the season.
Worst moment?
Pretty easily that Felicity speech on the table. There's the really easy complaint of it's too melodramatic. But there's also the more realistic complaint of, I mean, I'm a business student, and no big, hard, tough, minor industry man is going to sell based on that kind of speech from a guy like Ray Palmer and a woman with Felicity that he's never seen before. That's just really dumb, and it's really business cliche on TV. I mean, we've mastered tech talk, but we haven't mastered business talk on TV for some reason.
Oh, we haven't fully mastered tech talk. We got technobabble all the time, man. Like,
at least it's more ingrained than business talk. Like, business talk just never works. Unless it's a movie about business, it never works on TV.
This is the show where Clock King blows up computers remotely by sending signals to them.
Okay, fair enough.
My worst moment, I mean, there's a lot of little things that just really irked me. Probably that whole scene where the DJ takes over, but then the second thing is Felicity seduced by an expensive dress. I mean, it just deflates everything I like about that character, man. I'm trying so hard to figure out how it's not what I think it is, and it just looks like what I think it is. They're throwing her under the bus. This is the girl who refused to be anybody's secretary. This is the girl who refused to bring him coffee. And now she's all, oh boy, an expensive dress, and being kind of cliched girly about things, and she's not like... She has fashion sense, don't get me wrong. The girl knows how to dress. I've had a hard time not commenting. I mean, I could almost make Awesome Felicity Wardrobe a segment on this show. I mean, she's she's a gorgeous woman, and she has amazing fashion sense, and she wears a lot of really knockout stuff where everybody on the show and watching the show is going, wow, that's amazing. So we know she knows how to do. She knows how to dress, and she has a penchant for that stuff. But I was like the juxtaposition of, maybe she doesn't quite even have to think about that stuff. It just comes naturally. She doesn't strike me as the kind of person that gets excited about clothes. She just puts them on and naturally looks great.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back all the way to the Dodger episode, like when Felicity has to pretend to be like a socialite in a really fancy dress, she's able to do it, but she doesn't care. That's not her lifestyle at all. And then this episode's completely counter to that.
Yeah. I don't know, that just did not work for me, and I'm hearing a lot of people, especially in our audience, complaining about Felicity this season. The Flash stuff helped a lot. I mean, her episode in Flash is fantastic, but I mean, I don't like that she and Flash can't be together, because it doesn't make any sense. But like, you know, she fits in that show right now in a way she's not fitting in this show. I still feel that way. This episode made me feel more that way. Also, I'm going to say it again, and I know some folks don't agree with me when I say this, but I still feel like the only reason that she wouldn't be with Flash is because he still has feelings for Iris, but more that she still has feelings for Oliver. But she's moving on. She wasn't moving on with Flash. Why not?
Yeah, it's a good point. That's inconsistent with what she said in that episode. Now that she's with Ray, like what? She didn't go to Barry because Barry couldn't buy her fancy clothes? Is that what we're saying now?
Yeah, and it's obviously not, but it's easy to see it that way. They're unintentionally making her look a lot more shallow than she is. It's not the character, it's the way she's being written. There's a distinction. It's the way she's accidentally being written. Anyway, all right, quotes. Not a quotable episode. Didn't have very much. What did you have anything?
Oh, okay, that's weird. I had like 3.
Wow, all right, go ahead. Sorry, I did not care for this overall.
Line. I mean, I don't like Ray Palmer in this episode, but I like his line of, yeah, it's a couture, which I'm pretty sure is French for expensive.
I mean...
I liked Cupid's line of, that's what love is, our own little slice of insanity.
Oh, I meant to write that one down. I did like that.
And then when they first get the heart arrow and they think it's a spade for the whole episode, for most of the episode, Diggle says, last time I saw Stave, that lethal had cut up a royal flush I was holding.
Oh, I missed that line. That's a great line.
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
Okay, that one's really good. I liked it when Felicity called Cupid Crazy Pants. I had that one. I had a worst line. I didn't like it when, I know I'm being a little bit tough on this. I'm being maybe a little bit harder because you're being so positive about it that I feel like
we balance each other out.
We're creating a dichotomy. Felicity Smoke. This is Ray Palmer. Felicity Smoke. You're different from anyone I've met. Well, yeah, she used to be, but ironically, she is a little more like a typical girl here. This was not the episode for that line.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's just because how I'm feeling about the rest of the episode. Anyway, guest stars. So Carrie Cutter is played by Amy Gumenik, who is a character actor in some stuff I've not watched. She was in a show called My Own Worst Enemy. She was in, I guess, 1 or 2 episodes of Supernatural, and or maybe she was in several episodes of that actually, and just some other bit parts and things. And then the psychiatrist I was trying to place the entire time she was on screen. Did you recognize her?
I did not know.
Her name is Jill Teed, and she was Bobby Drake's mother in X2. That's who that is. Yep.
The whole, did you have to try not being a mutant?
That's who that is.
Oh, geez, I had no idea.
I didn't either. I tried to place it forever. I had to look it up. But as soon as I saw she was in X2, in fact, it took me a minute there to go, that's who she is. That's who that is.
Wow. I mean, I didn't even recognize her. Wow, okay.
I don't know why I did. It's not like she's in a lot of X2. I've just seen that movie lots of times. Comic references. So Carrie Cutter is Cupid. As we said last time, she was a Guggenheim creation or no?
Kreisberg creation.
Yeah.
The only major difference is that in this show she's like police SWAT team, and in the comic she was like a government special forces woman.
You know, it might have been kind of interesting if... This is another thing we could have done with her, and I'm not saying they had to do this or whatever, but you know, it might have been interesting if they had made her an ex-military person who worked for Waller, and Waller, like, created all of this, because Waller is partially to blame for the direction that Oliver went to, right? So we could have even more connected them up that way. That would have been smart.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't think of that.
Other references: the atom symbol on Palmer's logo. I did enjoy every time they see it. They keep doing this. I don't know why, but that was kind of funny.
Yeah, there's the dwarf star of alloy he also mentions, which is what the atom puts in his belt to shrink. And we mentioned the Sherwood Florist things, which where Oliver and Dinah used to live.
Yeah, I did not. I wrote that down as that was silly, but I didn't realize that was a comic. That was a comic thing, and and of course the Atom superhero suit at the end that we're seeing the suit. There was a little bit there was a whiff of some new score during that scene that I wondered if they might not be planting an Atom superhero score theme.
That would be really cool. They've even talked about like making new spin-off shows. I wouldn't be surprised if Atom isn't one of them that they're considering.
Wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't the one that goes 13 episodes and gets canceled. But I'm just saying,
Brandon Routh something to do, and I like that.
I love Brandon Routh. I'm just saying that right now because I can't get into this character yet. I'm trying.
Yeah,
I love Brandon Routh.
He's just really bad so far.
If it wasn't Routh, if it was a nobody, we would be probably a lot more against him even than we are right now.
Yeah, that's fair to say. And I mean, I was the one in the first episode that we reviewed together. I said, like, the best thing about that whole premiere was Brandon Routh as Ray Palmer.
Yeah.
And not anymore, so.
I guess we'll see. I feel like there's an episode I haven't watched. Steve, do you have a prediction?
I think maybe, because we talked about this a little bit, I think maybe Ray Palmer might start out as a bad guy. I think it'd be really cool if we introduced him, instead of doing the standard superhero cliche of two heroes meet and they fight, of maybe they fight and Oliver has to bring him back to their side or something. Maybe we're not getting a sense for him because he's not supposed to be a good guy yet.
It's really interesting how you and I are lining up on things tonight because for maybe the first time ever, I have a contradictory prediction.
Oh, okay.
My contradictory... I don't think it's going to go that way at all. I think you're absolutely wrong. I think the series has no idea how potentially ominous this character seems right now. I think it has no idea. And I think what is actually going on is that they're simply going to just keep playing him the way they're playing him because they think it makes perfect sense, even though I don't, and that Palmer is going to end up trying to fix the city the way he's trying to fix it, and it's going to put Oliver in a place where he feels irrelevant and he doesn't even need to be Green Arrow anymore.
That could be potentially interesting if they write it well.
I think that's where it's more likely to go, and that what will happen is that all of this stuff that's building with Waller and then with the League of Assassins is going to come back to bite them just as Oliver hangs up the hood. And Palmer is going to try to solve it himself, and Oliver is going to, at first, let him deal with it, and then he can't deal with it, and so then he has to come back. That's where I think it's going.
Yeah, that could be possible. Do you think they'll bring in Katana while they do that? Because they've been setting her up pretty well so far. Yeah,
probably so. They might even use her as like an enforcer that Ray Palmer sends out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because everything this season's just kind of been up in the air anyway. So your guess is good at mine. We're just kind of grasping at straws here because we don't know who these people are.
Yeah, I just feel like there's something just about the tone that they've been establishing with him that makes me think that they think that he is like totally altruistic, and that the weird stuff with the way he manipulates things with money is just a charming, harmless, whatever, it doesn't matter kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough. He's a really strange character right now, and I hope they realize he's shallow eventually. Or at least Felicity is, and because they're not writing her the way they used to. She used to be so much more interesting than that.
Yeah, she's just gotten a little bit typical. Anyway, that's my prediction. That's it for all of the regular stuff. So let's go on to our trivia question for today. And what was your trivia question last time, Steve? And what was the answer, sir?
Last time, it was a Wildcat question of Wildcat was once voiced by a retired military sergeant who was the actor, and his name is R. Lee Emery.
Let me just pull up my... thought I had my trivia stuff here. Give me just a second. I'm sorry, what was the name?
R. Lee Emery.
That was first answered once again. You want to make a guess? You want to guess who answered it? It
was
Zombie Thing MD. Again, Zombie Thing just tearing it up with the trivia lately. I don't know if he just has his hand on the button where he listens to every discussion before anybody else gets a chance to. But congratulations to you once again, Zombie Thing. And mine was... Oh, you know what? He answered both of ours first.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. Because my question was, what does Wildcat have a tattoo of on his arm? And he said it was a tattoo of a cross. I'm taking that. That's good enough. But it was a cross. I want to say with a snake around it. There was something around it, and I think it was a snake.
Like the medical symbol, or?
No, it didn't. It didn't look like the medical symbol. Really, I didn't think at all. But it sort of looked like a snake. Yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know why it was a tattoo of that, because it doesn't seem to have anything to do with anything we knew about him or anything comic booky, but that's what it was. And what is your trivia question for today, Steve?
Okay, I think mine's pretty easy so far. It's going to be, we see Katana use her sword in this episode, and it's moving around and it's kind of whistling. In the comics, what is her sword called? Because it's got a very specific name, and they use it in Beware the Batman, and it's fantastic in that show, so...
My question, as always from the episode, is how much money is the necklace that Felicity is wearing worth?
I'm going to go with couture, because it means expensive, evidently.
Yes.
It costs a couture.
It is expensive, but it is more expensive than Felicity thought it was. How much is it worth? Another kind of easy question if you were watching the episode. Everybody, thanks as always for watching Arrow Discussions. Hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to seeing who agrees more with me or with Steve, because we were really on opposite ends this time, which is always fun. So I didn't care for this one that much, and Steve liked it more than I did. Steve, you swayed me slightly with some of the character stuff just in where it gets us to the end. I mean, I was already kind of, happy with Oliver at the end with that scene, with that dinner scene, but I still feel like you could have gotten him there in about 50 other ways. But I don't know. You had a lot of good points, but I still didn't like that character overall.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's not a very good episode. It's still pretty bad. I'll admit that. It's just it was hard for me to hate this one as much as I hated Guilty, because I felt like I couldn't say anything good about Guilty.
Steve took one look at that episode.
No, there's stuff I legitimately enjoyed on rewatches, whether or not it was good.
Steve watched Guilty, and he said, guilty.
Yeah.
Well,
you have failed this TV network.
Once again, thanks for watching. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve.
And we will see you again next time.